Asynchronous PL covers MacBook Keynote application. It'll look a little different on an iPad. So this asynchronous PL is really geared strictly for those using a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro. Keynote is Apple's version of what we've been using in the past is PowerPoint and slides. It's an excellent creation tool for students to use to show that deeper level of understanding and critical thinking. But before we can give that for students to use in the classroom, we need to make sure that we as teachers and educators can create keynotes as well to help our students during that process. So if we come down to the bottom, we're going to click on our Keynote application. And also, just another little heads up, there's a lot of features and tools inside of Keynote, but today, for the purpose of keeping it simple, we're just going to go through some of the main things that you need to know in creating a Keynote for the first time. So if you see me go over some features that you might be interested in learning more about, just make a note of it and reach out to your instructional support specialist and they can further assist you. So when we're creating our first Keynote presentation, after we open it up, you'll see a lot of different themes that you could choose from. All the different ones are on the left if you want to get specific, or if you just want to see all of them at once, we can scroll and see the different themes offered. So first, we'll just choose the first one here, click Create, and now we have our first slide in our presentation. Just giving you a brief overview or look at it first glance. On the left hand side, this is where your slides will be added as you add more slides to the presentation. And today we'll be going through many of these features at the top up here, which help you create an interactive or an engaging presentation. So first of all, we have our first slide with our text box already here. If you don't want that text box, we could simply come to the top here and do add slide, and what you'll see is different formats or layouts for this specific theme that you could choose from. So if you had rather have a title and a photo, we can make that our first slide. And since we added another slide, if you want to delete the one that's there, all we need to do is right click and we can delete that slide. And now we have our first slide. All right, so going across the top here, we first see the view feature. This allows us to see the navigator on the left-hand side, or we could see the slide only if you want to take that out. Me personally, I always want to keep the navigator open. That way I can see the flow of my slides as I create more slides and see how the presentation itself kind of flows and looks without going through each and individual slide. All right, now view or zoom, is just that. Right now we can see the entire slide, so I'm not going to change the zoom, but if for whatever purpose yours gets set a different way and maybe it's zoomed in too far and you can't figure out why you can't see the entire slide, we'll just come up here, change that view back to 50%. All right, and we've already seen that we want to add a slide. We see the add slide feature here. So when I want to add a slide, click that. Add another slide. I can continuously add different types of slides like you see. So now when I click, I have the option to change that slide title. Subtitles, and then there's your bullets. The easiest way starting out is just to go with the layout that you pick. But as you see, when you click on these text box, once you get the bullets, you can resize them that way. Anywhere you see a bullet, just click on it and pull, and you can move those text boxes around. Same way when you click on it and see the bullets, if you don't want that text box, so say the bullet text box here, if I decide I don't want that, click it, find the little bullets around it, click delete, and it's gone. So now you can kind of change up the slide layout as you're creating your presentation. All right, coming across the top here, we see the play button. Once you create a presentation and you get it how you want and you want to go through it, click play, and spacebar will take you through the different slides. So that's what your play button is for. Now, moving across, this is a great feature for math classes and social studies classes, really, or actually all classes. You could use this table feature. We can insert a table. When we click table, if you click the little arrow to the left or right, you can see that it gives us different colors and formatted tables to choose from. Now, once you select a table, you can still edit that table how you want to and make it look exactly how you want. I'm going to choose this one, and you see it automatically inserts a table. Now, some features over here that we're not going to really cover in detail because there's a lot to it. Once we insert a table, you can edit this table style. We can change the color still at any point. There are multiple other options down here. If we want more rows, we would just click up, and as you can see on the screen, we're adding rows. If I want to add more columns, I have more columns, or I can take columns away. Now, our table is kind of small, so if you wanted to resize this table, if you come to the top left corner of that table, you notice my cursor turns into a cursor with 4 little arrows. I can click, I can drag that table over, and now just like our text box, I can come here to this bullet and I can pull this text or this table across to fill the screen. So now I have a table that fills the entire slide. Now, another cool feature about this is good for math in that it's just simply, or any subject again, just add your title to the top. Titles here, you could put in numbers that represent data into your table and just do multiple things with inserting tables into your presentation. Again, there's a lot of things over here on the right, different styles, text styles, layouts that you can play around with to make it unique. But for today, that's the basics of inserting a table into a Keynote presentation. Next, what I'll show is, again, really good for a math class. I'm going to delete off this text box and this one. And we're going to come to the top and we're going to insert a chart this time. So charts, you have 3 different types of charts that you can insert: 2D, 3D, and interactive charts. So we're going to come to the 3D and we'll say we want to do a bar graph. Now, when we click bar graph to insert, you can see our 3D bar graph has been inserted. This here in the middle that looks like 2 circles going around each other, if you click and drag, you can move that 3D chart to look and appear any way you want it. So I just put it how I want, let go, and I have my 3D chart. Below the chart, edit chart data. This again, great for a science class if you're doing experiments. Math class if you're talking about data representation. When I click edit data, you see my chart data comes up, and I can change my bars to whatever I want it to be. I can say height or weight, whatever those bars I want to represent. Same thing for the different color bars that I have. If I want those bars to be something different, put my numbers in, and if you notice when I put my numbers in, you're going to see those graphs or those bars change. And this one just changed over here for me. So that's just a quick way to insert a chart into your presentation. You can add that in for, like I said, a math class, a science class, anything like that. Get done with your chart data, and there you have it. Resize it, move it around how you want. Now, looking over here on the right hand side again, format. If we're under format, it's just that you're formatting whatever you have selected. So if I select the chart and click format, now I can change the color of those charts. I can change the title. I can add a title. I could add a legend. I could add a caption if I wanted to. So you see the options are quite extensive. You have drop down menus here to play with the 3D scene. You can really see how students can get very creative with these presentations if given the opportunity to. We can see our axis, series, and arrange also for format. Now looking at the top again, we have animate. Animate is where you can build in effects. This is how the chart will come in to the presentation. And build out is how the chart will go out of the presentation if you want to add those type of effects. So if I say build in, add an effect, and wipe, simply it wipes in. And then you can see you can change how quick it wipes in, where it wipes in, from left or right. Our action, we can add different actions, and then if we wanted it to build out or exit out, we could add that effect as well. Now that piece is something you really want to make sure your students don't get carried away with. I would always tell my students I need the information on my slides correct before you do any of those fancy little build in or build out features. But they will work extremely hard to get the information correct so they could then show their creativity in their keynote presentations. All right, so now that's how we enter or insert a chart. Going back across the top, if you want to insert text and create your own slide from scratch and have text anywhere on the slide, not like the formats that you see at the top left when you click add slide, we can create any text box anywhere. All right, once I have that text in, if I select it and I want to change the format of it, make it bigger, a different color, or a different font, select the text box, come to the top right again. Format is where we change something. So just remember, format is where we change something, whether it's a chart, a text, data, whatever it might be. So I click format and I'm coming back to style. So if I want to change that text box up, I can give it a background by filling it in. I can give that text box a border, change the border color, give it a shadow if I want to. And you see it gets very, again, extensive in how creative or how you can make a presentation all your own. And this again gets students excited. But first you got to teach them to get the information correct first. All right, staying under format, we have style, which is a few things we just played with, and then we have text. So if I want to make that text larger, or first of all a different text, I can choose from any of the numerous ones that they have here, and you see my text has been changed. If I want my text to be larger, you can go up in font size. Now you see the fonts are filling out that box, If you want it to go long as well, just take and stretch that text box out. Again, not going through all of these. We can make it bold, italics, underline. These are the same features that you see in a Google slideshow or a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. They're just located at a different spot. We have text location, so I can make it to the left, center, or right, and then this here allows me to center the text box itself. So a lot of different things here that you can play around with your text. And then arrange. If you have multiple things on a slide, this is where you could arrange it, send something to the back or the front, or send it backwards or forwards. Back sends it straight to the back. If you have 5 things on here, back means it's going to the back of everything. Front means it's coming to the front of everything. This simply layers it according to where you want it. If you want it second, layered second behind something else, you could do that. Same thing with forward. That's basically how you insert a text box. Coming across the top again, we can insert different shapes. A lot of different shapes in here that we could use. Once you insert it, again, click it and drag, and you can see that we can resize that. Select that, come to style, we can change the color of it. Remember, format allows us to change anything that we put on a slide. So I can change that to a red. I can give it, as well as the text box, I can also give it a border, a shadow, reflection. I can do a lot of things with the image on this as well. Our next thing, moving across the top, which is pretty cool, is our media. We can insert media. So if you have photos, or students have photos that are saved, they can go to photos and select any photos that they have saved, and it'll drop it in on the slide. We can do image gallery. So if you want to add an image this way, click image gallery, and if I have something saved on my desktop, which I do, I can just drag that image over, drop it, and now you see I have inserted that image from my desktop. And down here, great for social studies. We would add a caption to explain what's going on in this image. So captions are easily added. All right, coming back, and again, if you wanted to change up this photo, you select it, come to format, and we can do some things with it, arranging it. So if I send this to the back, you see it sends it behind everything that's on that slide presentation. If I send it forward one, now it's behind the book, but in front of the text box. That's what these features at the top right here do for you. All right, coming back to media. If students have movies, they can insert movies. Web videos, probably not gonna use that so much because of YouTube being blocked, but for a teacher, you could insert YouTube videos easily here by inserting the URL, and it'll put the YouTube video on the slide. Coming down for music, students probably won't have music in their library, but you can add music if there's any in there. And coming down to record audio. This is a great feature if students want to talk through slides. That way, if they turn in a slide presentation, they can actually record themselves talking through the data if it's a chart, or they could be talking through the bullet points that might be on their presentation. Or they might just add a photo and then add a recording audio of them talking through what the photo is and why they inserted it. It's another great way to differentiate for your students who might struggle with typing or struggle with reading or writing, those kind of things. If they're more of a verbal person and you know they can explain themselves verbally better than they can written, then have them record it. Same thing for you as a teacher. If you're creating this to give out to students to use to study or to teach them a new concept, you could easily record audio, and it's going to pick your audio up, hit stop. Now we click, if we wanted to preview that audio, it would play it back for us, or we could insert it. Now it inserts this nice little audio button where when we click and play, it's going to talk to us and whatever we added for that audio. So that's how we add record audio. And now another great feature of Keynote, Apple's version of Google Slides, is live video. So if you have students or you want to create or drop in a video of you talking through the slide presentation, we could click live video, and then you see it accesses your computer's camera, and we can now create a video of us talking through the presentation. That's just a cool feature that a lot of students might find useful. Again, this is all about creativity, creation, student creation, and engagement. Now, under media, that's pretty much the main features of media that you would want to use in a Keynote presentation. Coming across the top, you see the comments. This is just where you can add little comments on top of your slide presentation. If I said, I'm not finished with this slide yet. And it just leaves a sticky note on top of that slide, kind of as a reminder for me to come back and finish up this slide. So, looking at that, we're going to delete this comment. That's basically the ins and outs of what a Keynote presentation can do as far as text box, inserting images, inserting media, and the different view or layouts that you can choose in Keynote. This was a very basic overview of Keynote. Again, please reach out to your instructional support specialist if you're looking for ways to integrate this into your classroom, or if you need more detailed instruction on how to do any of the features that are in Apple's Keynote presentation. Thank you, and I hope you learned something today.